Yeah, scrimmage one, scrimmage two was very productive for us. Got a little deeper into the install, some different mechanics, some things that we wanted to correct from scrimmage one to scrimmage two showed up in a good way, and still, stacking our days to really kind of dotting the i's and crossing the t's as we wrap up camp and get moving into the season.
Coach Napier had said that the second scrimmage gave some of the older guys some time off and a little bit of rest to see what some of these younger guys had. What stood out about the younger players?
Yeah, really excited about the depth. And so when you have that opportunity, there's a lot of guys out there that have played a lot of snaps. And so gave an opportunity under the bright lights in a tackling situation for some of the young guys to be able to go out and execute, communicate, tackle, make plays on the ball. So, that's the name of the game in college football is building your depth. You never know what's going to show up during the season when a guy gets called on and what was he doing to prepare for that moment. So I think we're on the right track with it.
And Coach Napier also said that you guys were able to put the quarterbacks in some tough positions with what you were doing on defense. How exciting is it to see that out of the defense now as you inch closer to that Liberty game?
Yeah, that's one of our defensive objectives is to affect the quarterback, whether through pre-snap, movement, post-snap, disguise. We never want to give the same picture pre and post snap for the quarterback, right? And so being able to do that with different coverage concepts or pressures really kind of makes the defense go a little bit. Like I've always said, we play offense on defense. I'm not saying we're right 100% of the time, but pressure makes diamonds. And, it'd be good to create some havoc. And it starts with the signal caller on their side of the ball.
As you guys go through this somewhat of a mock game week, as you teach them this, what do you want to see the defense embrace out of it?
Yeah, just embracing what we've built as a culture. We still haven't quite hit adversity yet as a group, and so when it happens, the mindset of so what, now what, and be able to stick together and solve problems with each other. I always tell them, like, we're a partnership. My role on this team is to coach. Your guys' role on this team is to play, and you guys are more important than us coaches. And so we're just tools for you guys to be as sharp as you can out on the football field. So let's go solve the problems together. And I think they've done a good job up to this point.
When you watched the scrimmage back on tape, was there anything that popped out that maybe you didn't notice live?
Yeah, the physicality of our group grows more and more each and every practice. Not to say they weren't physical to start. It's just you could see the physicality up front. So really excited about that. Also the communication. I'm like a lot of coordinators in this coaching tree that I'm from. We never met a defense we don't like. So being able to go and adjust the right way against an offense. Like we're going against the offense, and it's like game 1,000 of the finals, you know what I mean? And so they know the chess game, what we're trying to do. We know what they're trying to do. We're adding stuff, and for them to go out and execute, I thought they did a pretty good job.
We were just talking to Coach Napier just about position battles going on during camp, and he was saying how it's week by week and how fluid it is because the roster's so deep.
Right.
Is this last week of camp like an opportunity for guys maybe to like make a final impression on you or other members of the staff?
Yeah, I think every day you go out there, you're looking to be the best version of yourself. So whether it's these 2 weeks leading up to Liberty or the middle of the season after a bye week, whatever it may be, your tape's your resume. So as you go out there, you got to put the best version of yourself out there and be able to do what we asked you to do. We had Josh Wells come and speak to the team. And, it's a simple concept to think about. I think everybody knows it. But when he said it, it really hit with me. And I reminded the defense, it was, if you have a bad practice in the NFL, you might get cut, And so you got to have that mindset day in and day out to go out there and just be the best version of yourself.
As you build from summer to fall camp and day in and day out and stack these days, and you mentioned the physicality, is the physicality the indicator that everything is actually where it needs to be almost, because now you're just reacting and boom, you can go full speed?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. When you're playing physical, it means you're playing fast, right? So force times acceleration, or force times mass equals whatever that is. Yeah. Right. But you meant what I knew. So when they're playing physical, that means they're playing fast and they're confident. They're in a good position to finish in a dominant position on the field. So now there's guys that are out there being physical, and it's kind of like the Tasmanian Devil or the Incredible Hulk, and it's like a collision, but we don't wrap the guy up, But I always would rather err on that side than the guy that may be timid and doesn't roll his hips through on contact or something like that. So I think that's physicality is something that is a stalemate of our defense. So we got to keep rolling with it.
Did you make any rotation adjustments at this point, particularly on maybe the defensive line or even in the secondary after what you saw on Friday?
Yeah, we typically always roll different guys in different groups, whether it's a guy working with another guy or it's, hey, we want to get this guy against this group on offense. And even in the secondary, we got 5 spots. It's like, as I've said before, it's really positionless. And so they're playing different spots. Guys are doing a good job with it. And that's part of camp. We're trying to test their knowledge, and put them in some uncomfortable situations. And then we get into the season, we kind of tailor it down to what we actually want to do. But I thought the guys handled it pretty well.
I want to get your take also on one of the true freshmen, Ron Dews.
Yeah.
He has stood out, I think, in some practices that I've watched, both scrimmages. He's come up with some big plays. What's your assessment on this young man at this point?
Yeah, I'll take it back to recruiting. He had some opportunities, and it just kind of tilted our way. And so we were really excited about that process of it. I believe he signed on the second signing day in February there. So when he came on campus, I mean, his personality is electric, very smart, versatile, all that kind of stuff. And so, for him not to go through spring ball because he wasn't an early enrollee and then pick it up in the summer, and his head was spinning to start. But he'd always see me out there on the field. He's like, I'm picking it up, Coach. I'm picking it up. And I'd always see him in Coach KB's office trying to get ahead and trying to catch up with what the guys already knew. And so when you see that he's making plays out there, you can see that the confidence is growing day to day, practice to practice, meeting to meeting, and he's going to be a really good football player for us.
Since he signed late, was he fulfilling a need position-wise, or was he an athlete that you thought, hey, this guy he's going to contribute one way or the other?
Yeah, that's one thing in recruiting. On defense alone, we're never going to pass up somebody up front that can help us. And somebody in the back end that can't help us, So, as we kind of looked through the roster and had the opportunity to sign him, we felt like we needed to make it work, and it worked out in our favor.
For the average fan, they may not realize how much a young kid like that has to pick up when he gets onto campus. So just talk about how you coach those younger guys and bring them in and help them understand that, it's going to be coming at them fast, but if they put in the effort, it's going to slow down for them.
Right. So not only do they have to learn the football piece of it, they got to live life, so their dorm room, their route to the office, where they eat, the strength training schedule, the study schedule, all that, right? And so then you pile football on top of that. And so when Ronnie showed up, it was more so, or any other young player, we're going to throw you in, and we're going to do some things that we're going to ask everybody else to do on the defense, but we're going to know in our head, like, hey, he might have messed that up. We can coach him. And it's not a repetitive mistake because he just doesn't have the reps yet, So I think patience is key on that. But you still want to push the envelope and not, hold him back to what he could learn, And if you could throw the kitchen sink at the guy and he can retain it, you're in good shape. If you got to hold back a little bit, do some extra meetings, or know when he's in and call the defense based off that, we can help him. And that's our job as coaches to do that.
Kind of just touched on this.
Yep.
The phrase production over potential really sparked up after last year.
Yep.
How do you nurture the idea of potential and talking about young players while also balancing the production aspect of the game?
Yeah, everybody out there wants to make the play. and really just stressing your 1/11th. Think of a great baseball hitter. It's hit a single, put the ball in play, then all of a sudden that pitch is going to look like a grapefruit, and you knock it out of the park when it comes to you. And so we try to stress that with our guys is just do your 1/11th, and the plays will come. As you kind of look at the potential versus production conversation, potential will get you fired. And if you're going to sit there and try to, hey, this guy's going to get it, this guy's going to get it, but he never gets it, and there's no production, you got to go with the guy that's actually producing out there. And so we have guys on the roster that are probably a mix of both, where they're productive and they got great potential. There's guys that are potential that are flashing, and then other times it's just a matter of consistency. And so as we kind of keep giving the reps, being in year one, they're get exposed to this for the first time, and so they're doing a good job, really executing what we're asking them to do.
Yeah, I think we're playing a little cleaner. Just the procedural things, getting calls, getting lined up. Pre-snap penalties, I think early on in camp, those are always issues, and we made strides, I felt like, in scrimmage too. Now, you're playing a whole lot of people, right? You're rotating a whole bunch of people and got a whole lot of guys in there, and I was really impressed with some of our depth. Those guys kind of pleased me when maybe they got an opportunity and, were able to go down the field and have some success. But those two probably were the big things that stood up our depth. Maybe some guys we wanted to see some things from that, quote-unquote, maybe we weren't planning on at the time being starters. They kind of came out and shined. And then on top of that, a little less penalties, pre-snap, things like that, which is always encouraging.
Coach Napier had mentioned the depth as well in getting some of those younger guys scrimmage time as you guys rested some veterans. How important was that to give them that opportunity to kind of simulate a game before they get into the week one against Liberty?
Oh, incredibly important. I mean, anytime you go out in the stadium and play a live, competition, and you're tackling and the pads are going on and coaches are off the field and, you got to get the call and operate, and you have officials, right, calling it like they would in a game. The experience is invaluable. And so, that was great. I mean, again, it's a long season, and this is the greatest team sport, right? It's not tennis or golf. It's football. It takes all 11 on the field, and it's a physical game. And so you're always going to need people, whether it be week one or, at the very end of the season. So we're always developing guys and giving guys opportunities. And, like anything, when you do it, I think you have more confidence in your ability to do it again. And so it was pivotal, key. Very, very happy we were able to get that done.
And Coach Napier mentioned Smoke Collins as one of those guys that has really stood out to him and had a good camp. What have you seen out of his development over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, had a great camp. I would definitely agree with that. I think, my office kind of overlooks the field, and I saw him over the spring at different times, whether that be in the morning or afternoon. It wasn't just him, but a lot of guys were out there working. But I do remember him particularly getting a lot of extra work in as I would just kind of look out my window and see him maybe working a release or throwing with a quarterback, just them two. And so, he really had a great camp. I mean, he had a really one-on-one balls, things like that, made a lot of plays that I think, we knew he was capable of. And he made plays in the spring too, but I think this fall camp, he really showed what he can do, red zone and those types of plays. When, if you're going to leave him one-on-one, he did a great job. So very pleased with him and his kind of development. And then just learning, right? I think it was a challenge for everybody the first spring, to learn a system. You could kind of tell he was a lot more comfortable going through this time around in fall camp, just the playbook, the installation. I think instead of kind of thinking about, what is my assignment? Where do I line up? What do I have to do? Now it was I can just go play fast. Maybe what's my technique in this because it's just secondhand nature when you already know it. So those kind of things appealed to me and showed up, and really pleased with his playmaking ability and just ability to operate in the offense.
When he talked to us a couple weeks ago, he mentioned playing with this joy and really having fun playing the game. From your coaching perspective, how much does that help a player to kind of let loose a little bit and make sure that they're having fun out on the field?
Yeah, I think that's how I try to coach. I think anything, man, fear can paralyze you. If you're a player, if you're a coach, what if this goes wrong? Don't want to call this play, or right, don't want to take this chance if I'm a quarterback, or don't want to, maybe do this if I'm a wide receiver. At the end of the day, go have fun and play the game you love to play. I think that's one of the things we try to be very intentional about. Every time we, have a unit meeting, every time we take the practice field, obviously there's hard moments, and it's a tough game that these guys play, and it's a lot of work that goes into it. But we try to remind them that, there's millions of people that would love to be in their shoes, just like there's millions of people that would love to be in my shoes, right? And so just enjoying when you get a chance to go up and make a play, enjoying if you're a quarterback when you get to throw a deep ball down the field, right? Enjoying if you're a lineman getting to finish a guy within the whistle. We try to kind of break that down for them. And I think when you can play free and you're enjoying what you're doing and having fun and you're knowing what to do, I definitely think that translates into success, right? And so that's one thing we're very intentional about, and I've definitely noticed that with him as well. I've noticed that with other guys too. I think guys maybe pressed early on, and then they just kind of realize at the end of the day, I'm just going to go out and kind of play, and it seems like the results happen for them a lot smoother.
And I know you guys are still evaluating the quarterbacks and what they bring, but how comfortable have you seen them be with this offense that they've learned over the last several months? I
think we grew a lot, in the past game, just whether that be them getting some extra work over the summer, the 7-on-7s they did, the player-led things into fall camp. I think all of those guys actually got a lot better, and maybe just, again, understanding why we're calling the plays, what play works versus what defense and what coverage, and then just always the timing point of it of, hey, this is my drop, this is my read, these are where my eyes are supposed to be. And so I was really encouraged, right? That was, one of the things we really wanted to improve on, I think, after spring was some areas of the pass game, and definitely in kind of two big areas. When I look back to my notes, we improved in fall camp. And so now we're still not there yet. We still got to keep improving, obviously, and that's really what this week's about, is continuing your fundamentals, continuing to kind of work on your craft. But definitely think we made a stride from spring to fall camp, just as far as overall cleanness, understanding where we want to go with the ball, going with the ball, and making plays in that facet of the game.
You mentioned the depth being just a pro. I'm curious, is that something you kind of had a feeling was going to be a strength, or is that something that's developed throughout the course of camp?
I think when you evaluate the roster, when you first get here, a lot of people left, but we also knew we had a lot of people coming back, and then you sign these guys, and like anything, I don't want to say speed dating. I mean, we do a lot of research and do a lot of talking and watch a whole lot of video, but at the end of the day, till they really get here and you see them maybe move around and then you're around them, how do they learn? Do they love football? All those kind of things. You don't really know. So, I think you're always, trying to evaluate that. Now, after spring, I think we had a good idea of what we could become. But as I said, I think just, it's a lot of installation and we knew coming out of the spring, not that we were disappointed or anything, but we were just on schedule, right? I think just maybe a lot of things aren't as clean as you want them to be because guys just quite are trying to learn the playbook, right? And so I think we knew we had the ability to have some depth for sure just after spring practice, but once guys really got a grasp of the playbook, it kind of showed itself in the fall, and then, guys learn at different paces, right? I've had guys that come from day one, and, I was at Ole Miss, and, Austin Simmons, who's now at Missouri, man, he had one of the more impressive day ones I've ever seen from a quarterback. And last year I coached Jacoby Criswell, really smart kid, but maybe didn't have as good of a spring, but really took off in the summer. And, ultimately, the last 3 games of the year, I think he threw for 900 yards for us last year. But my point is, guys always learn at a different level, and it's kind of our job to kind of figure out and reach them with that. But we knew we had the ability to have depth, but I think guys really kind of showed it this fall camp, gave us a little more confidence.
Coach, in general terms at this stage, as you're putting the depth chart together, can you take us through a little bit of the process of that? How much other coaches are involved? Is it a meeting? What does that involve?
Sure. Well, we video every single thing that happens on the field, and then we come in and watch every single thing that happens on the field, and we grade it collectively as a staff. I may see it different than Coach Fleming, or I may see it different than Coach Sale, and so then it's our job to get on the same page of, hey, this is why, this is what he should have done, this is what I'm thinking he should do. Do you see it that way? And the majority of the time, we're on the same page, but if we're not, it's kind of figuring out what they need to be doing. But, yeah, we evaluate every single thing, and so we're always having those conversations. I think, it's like anything. You're not in pads, then you get in pads, then you get shoulder pads on, and eventually you get these scrimmages where you have to tackle and block, and you're able to kind of finish blocks, and it's that's not a tackle, right? Maybe they call it a tackle in regular practice, but it's not, or hey, he didn't make him miss. The safety came down and stuck him, right? We might have been saying the last 4 days he's going to make him miss, but he didn't. So I think as you get more into camp and you're able to evaluate scrimmages and live action. It's just constant communication, and they'll give their opinions. I'll kind of give my opinions. We'll obviously go with Coach Napier, and he'll give us his opinions. And it's just constantly collaborating and getting on kind of the same page on where we see guys fit. And then, it's a reminder that the game's not tomorrow, right? On February, we may see something, but there's a whole lot of time to improve. And then, it kind of, obviously with each day, there's a little bit more urgency, but even still, the game's not tomorrow. And so there's still 2 weeks of kind of competition and 2 weeks to grow. And, 2 weeks that maybe if a guy's here and here, well, you better have a good 2 weeks, right? I know, right, I was at Clemson, and we had some really talented players, and Dan Brooks was the D-line coach, and he had 4 first-round draft picks, and I think he had some other guys that were really good, the 2 deep. And his thing was every week is whoever practices the best, I'm going to start, right? They're all going to play kind of starter reps, but whoever earns it that week of practice, will be able to run out there first, right? And, I always thought that was pretty neat. If you have the ability to do that, that kind of keeps guys more motivated maybe than they could be. Hey, at the end of the day, man, we're going to play a lot. Everybody's going to play that earns to play, but it's a special privilege to run out there first. And so I think when you can do that, it's just a little bit more juice and a little bit more competitiveness.
Also curious, how much, when you mentioned, your process there, you were speaking of all the offensive coaches. Do you get any input from the other side of the football? Do the defensive folks give you a nugget here or there?
Yeah. I mean, we do. After spring, we kind of we evaluate the whole roster kind of internally. Coach gets us to do that, and so we share ideas. Maybe not so much in fall camp, but probably not formally, maybe informally, if that makes sense. I mean, I may go up to Coach Bala and say, man, this guy really is tough to block, or he's really good in coverage, and but. Offensively, I'm obviously looking at our defense, but I'm more watching our offense. It's not like I'm really game planning our defense as much, if that makes sense. Some guy may pop, and I may see somebody that may flash, but, I got enough issues kind of looking at my 11 to make sure everybody's blocking the right way and running the right way and reading the right way. And so, I'm not maybe evaluating them as much as I would in a game, if that makes sense.
Well, you have to prioritize, certainly.
Correct.
Understand that.
Yeah.
And probably in most cases, what they're going to tell you, you already know. I would think,
sure.
In many cases.
Some of that. I mean, but it is good to get kind of a different perspective. I think through that, it's good to get a different perspective when you can. Whether that be players, scheme-wise. We do talk about scheme a lot. Me and Coach Bala, hey, this was really good, you did that, or what could I do to do that? I think that's always good to kind of pick each other's brain and, see where you can get better.